All right, Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Happy Sabbath to those who may be tuning in during the live feed or uh, later. Um, today's topic. Oh, my brother Jair, of course. But today's topic I'm going over today is titled "The Effect of Righteousness." Right, the effects of righteousness. Um, the world we live in today is very distant from God and what God has commanded the earth and how it's supposed to operate, and they don't understand like how how the saying goes, for every action there's a reaction. They don't understand that when it comes to the Most High, right? Some people have ideas when it comes to that, where they can know that, oh, the state of the world, yeah, God is angry, yeah, okay, it's cool. But then they don't put the magnifying glass on their households or on themselves to know that God is angry with you too, you know. And they don't understand the cause and effect when it comes to the Mosiah, right? And how he has created this place that we live in, you know, and how we're supposed to operate within the earth, right? How we're supposed to operate. They're very distant. The earth is very distant from God. But our praises, the truth is on the earth. Our people are waking up. We know who we are. You so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. Um, you are the biblical Israelites. The Bible is for you. It's about your people. It's your history, and it's time that you return back to keeping God's commandments, so you can understand. You can understand the effects of righteousness. So, without further ado, I want to start off with the pull it up here. I want to start off with let's start off with the book of I'm already on it. Exodus chapter 19 and verse 5. Start right here. Book of Exodus chapter 19 and verse 5. And it reads, "Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And he shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel." It can't get no simpler than that, right? Now we understand people get into the New Testament, they don't understand what's going on with the word Gentile. But if you read from this point, from the OT forward, you will understand what that's talking about, right? Those Gentiles in the New Testament are talking about scattered Israelites and Israelites who didn't come up in the commandments because they only know a Gentile way. So they are addressed as Gentiles until they start keeping the commandments the proper way, right? I mean, it's just as simple as that. So what he's saying here, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, right? Then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, right? For all the earth is mine. So the earth is the Most High's. It belongs unto him. He's gonna do what he want as he will with it, right? And there's nothing any of us can do. We have to just sit back and enjoy the show, right? So the thing is, he's saying, if you will obey my voice. So there was a cause, and there was the Lord is showing that there's an action and a reaction to the Israelites and how our ancestors operated, right? Simply put, if they kept the commandments properly, they would have blessings upon the earth, of course. And if they broke it, they go into captivity and serve other nations. So it's just what it was. And it's just how the Lord set it up, right? Um, let's jump to let's just go and jump to Deuteronomy 28. Let's go and get there. Knock that out. Deuteronomy 28 and verse. Well, I like to keep it simple. With Deuteronomy, I think it's 10 and verse. What is it at? It's 11 and 20. I think it's 11. Maybe it might be 10. There it is. 11 in verse 26. And it reads, Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you this day, and the curse if you will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day to go after other gods which ye have not known. So you get the blessing, right? He set before us blessing and the curse, right? So the effect of keeping the commandments, you get the little time frame with Solomon. You see throughout the times of the judges where the kingdom was just up and down, up and down. We were ruling, then we went into captivity, just up and down situation, right? Then you have the blessings, I mean the curses, where we go and serve Egypt, we go and serve um Babylon, Assyria, Persian Medes, Rome, Greek, all of that, right? Those are the effects of our wickedness. We serve other people. We serve other nations, right? But it's our actions. So it's not just it just happens. It's our actions that get us there. And this is even throughout your daily lives. Somebody has a job, you don't go to that job, you're going to lose that job. I mean, it's just simple. It's just simple. It's some simple understanding here. But sometimes people don't think about it when it comes to the Most High, right? When it comes to the Lord. Let's go to the book of Isaiah 32. Isaiah 32. The book of Isaiah. This thing freezing up on me. Okay, so you went there. Why don't you want to get up there for me? Okay, you go to Joshua. There you go. Come on now. Isaiah. I have to go over 32. Get there. Verse 14. And it reads. We can start at verse 15. 15. Until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, right here. In the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted for a forest. Then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. In the work of righteousness shall be peace. In the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance forever. And my people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation, and in short dwellings in a quiet rest in quiet resting places. Right? So the Lord just showed us there. In the effect of righteousness is quietness and assurance forever. Some people walk this earth toxic. They want to argue. They want to fight. They can't wait to get some liquor in their system and start disrespecting people. You're not going to get the kingdom. The Lord say, bless all the peacemakers, and that's not the kind of conduct that will get you into eternity. It's not going to get you there. So the effect of righteousness is the kingdom. That's why I say it's quietness and assurance forever, because it ain't quiet. It ain't even quiet in America. Like, it may be quiet in your house, but you go outside. Still a lot of crazy stuff going on out there, But we're not in this place. This place is not in quietness right now at all, right? But the kingdom is. So to get to that point, you have to do what the Lord said in keeping the blessings. You'll get to that place without a shadow of a doubt, right? Without a shadow of a doubt. Galatians. I want to get Galatians 6, verse 7. Galatians 6 and 7. It reads, I might as well start from verse 1. It says, Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. So as a brother, sister, when you're helping somebody through something, You take yourself into consideration because that can be you in that situation as well. So you definitely don't want to mock anybody or belittle anybody when they're down, because that can easily be you as sooner than you think, right? But ye which are spiritual, ye which are you have been through something yourself, build that person up. Verse 2, bear ye one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. So if you have brothers and sisters, they're falling, it's important that you help them, right? To a certain extent. To a certain extent. Because as you read down, you're gonna understand what I'm talking about. It said, but let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. So we gotta prove our own works. You know what I mean? You got to be able to be mature enough to know your limitations and what you are able to do in this walk in life, period. Right? You know what I mean? Like if you are, you know, if you are 5'5", you know what I mean, it's very, very unlikely that you make it to the NBA. No, it's a possible you can make it there. You ain't gonna make too much noise, you know. And that's just an example, right? If you're 120-pound Chinese man, if you're a Chinese man, period, you better not think about the NFL. I don't even think they ever even. I think they got a kicker. I think that's it. Just got a kicker after all these years. You know, so prove yourself. Know what you can do and do it. You know, basically. Uh, where am I at? Oh, I'm at verse 6. No, verse 7. Did I read verse 5? No, I didn't. For every man shall bear his own burden. Right? So you see the verse up, it says, bear ye another's burden. Then you see this one, for every man shall bear his own burden. The Lord teaches situational, right? There's times when you can bear burdens with your people, and there's times when you need to move out the way, right? Because if you have a person that keep putting themselves in the same situation, you cannot keep helping them out of that, because they're gonna just do nothing but drag you down with them. But people who, you know, when it's like the Lord say, it rains on the just and the unjust, they just getting a lot of rain. You be there for them, you know, be there for them for sure. But those folks who keep putting themselves in the same situation and keep doing it, nah, you got to remove yourself from that. Verse 7, be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. It's that simple. It is that simple. Be not deceived, God is not mocked, for but whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. And this is the thing where Christianity, right? People who are Christians, who are in the Christian church. Let me say that, because I'm a Christian because I follow Christ. But people who are in the Christian church who barks against the commandments, right? They don't believe we have to keep the Sabbath day. They don't believe in keeping God's feast days. They don't believe in the dietary law. They don't believe in none of that, right? So my question to them is, the Lord said, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. What are you sowing when it comes to eating pork? And the Lord is saying not to. Think about that. What this is not understand. There's a law for that. There's a commandment that that Christ, when he came on the scene, said nothing against. That thing still stands. If Christ spoke on it, then we need to have some understanding on it, whether we need to do it or not. And usually when he speaks on it, showing us that we don't have to do that no more. Or we have to change it up, like divorcing your wife for just any reason. You cannot just do that no more. Right? You cannot just do that no more. So with the Christian church that don't believe any commandments, think about what you're really sowing when you're breaking God's Sabbath day. Think about what you're really sowing when you are deciding to eat pork on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Think about what you sow when you're keeping Christmas. Because what's holy about these things is nothing holy about keeping Christmas. You cannot bring a holy thing out of unholiness. You cannot. Why do they continue to do stuff like that and thinking it's okay? It's a question for those folks. All right. But the Lord said, be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Period. Period. Right. So, of course, we definitely want to go over some commandments. Right. We want to go over some commandments and we want to show it's just a couple. Right. And I love to use this one. I really do, because especially amongst here in America, well, really wherever our people at, it's a bunch of murder going on. Let's go to that. Let me go to Exodus 20. We're gonna just touch on some commandments that if our people was to just keep this and make sure that we was focused on this one, right? Of course, just focusing on one and getting you the kingdom, but some people may call it a universal law. No, it's a commandment of God that He created. Stop putting stuff on the universe. Come on, man. Nobody ever spoke to the universe. Universe ain't did nothing. Like, we gotta stop. Where we're supposed to give credit to the Most High, people want to give credit to the universe. Cannot do that. That's disrespect, right? But the book of Exodus, I'm moving to my Bible. Book of Exodus, chapter 20, in verse 13, right? Let's go over these two. Well, I'd go to 13. 13. And it says, thou shalt not kill, right? Thou shalt not kill. I mean, that's simple. But I mean, that is the one of the shortest verses in the Bible. Thou shalt not kill. But how often is that commandment broken? It is no other sentences with that. It's one sentence, 4 words. But that thing is broken every single day. That is people being unjustly murdered. Unjustly. But if our people was to honor that one commandment through the Most High, our communities would be so much different. So different. It'd look like how I looked in the early 1920s. Black flourishing neighborhoods. If we just believed in that one verse. That one verse. Because you got to think about it. If you know you can't kill your brother, unjustly, of course, you know that. And we know also now if you start teaching about killing and murder, now you understand through Christ that, because outside of accidental murders and stuff, because those do happen, but it's laws against that too, for that, and how to deal with that within the scriptures. But when you understand Christ telling you before you even get to that point, stop at hatred, stop at having no reason, because a lot of our people just have no reason to be mad at one another. So stop there first. Stop at the anger. Where's the anger coming? Where's that misplaced emotion coming from? Where is it coming from? If you don't know, then fix that. Because now you have hatred for your brother for no reason at all. No reason. No point in having any hatred for that person. Right? If we look at what's another one? What's another? I'm gonna get the one. What does it say? Suffer thy neighbor to sin. What's that scripture? Leviticus. I'm gonna go to Leviticus. Leviticus 19. 19 in verse. It's just so many commandments. it's just so many. Like, oh, let's think about it like this. Let's go to verse 11. It says, ye shall not steal, right? Neither deal falsely. Neither lie one to another. But in verse 12, and ye shall not swear by my name falsely, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. So with that, I think about the court system here in America, and we watch all these drug shows and these crimes and all of this stuff, and they literally were like, "Yo, if we got to lie, we got to lie." The defense attorney, they got to lie, they got to lie. They're not so much interested in the truth, but what you got to just say what you need to say to get off, so we can win. I can get some money, and I can, you go home, I get paid, right? But the Lord is saying not to deal falsely. So that's unjust. It's a lot of situations. There's people in jail right now for somebody dealing unjustly with them, right? So this is the cause and effect. When you see the effect of not keeping God's commandments, this is why America, this is why the world is in the midst of chaos, in the midst of chaos, right? But I wanted to get nine, was it 17? 17. It says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. That love thy neighbor goes really, really, really deep. Really, really, really deep. I'm gonna probably have to just do a whole class on loving thy neighbor, because it's not just it's so many layers we can pull back to understand how to do that properly. Because our people don't. We definitely don't know how to keep that commandment properly, you know. But um, but suffering sin upon your neighbor, right? Is putting your neighbor. That's what dealing drugs. That's selling drugs in your community, the crack era, cocaine, weed, whatever it is, because our people be addicted to that marijuana. They ain't nothing but a gateway drug. I guarantee you, anybody who ever been on a hard drug, where they started at was weed. And it just got worse and got worse over time. Now everybody don't resort to cocaine or crack, or opioids and pills and stuff like that. Not everybody do that. But it does happen. It does happen. And let me go to this one. This is gonna be a short class, just getting back into the motion of things. But let me go to this. Let me go to this. First Corinthians. Was it Second Corinthians first? I'm gonna go to first. All right. Now this is the church at Corinth, right? If you read the churches, if you've been involved in understanding what's going on in the churches, you will know that this church had a lot of wickedness going on. We talking about a lot of wickedness, right? Just a lot of madness. One of the things they had going on was that a son had slept with his father's wife. It wasn't his mother, but his mother-in-law. And, the apostle Paul is writing a letter to this church and telling them how they should operate, right? Verse 7, 7 in verse 1. It said, now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman, right? Because it's just what it's showing is just like that just start opening up a whole bunch of can of worms, man. That's why he's saying that. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. That simple. This is to avoid to avoid fornication. Letting us know that if this stops baby daddies, baby mamas, people growing up in the same house with different fathers, and that creates chaos. That's going to prevent AIDS and HIV and chlamydia and all of this stuff, and people just will understand that. Let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Everybody got their own. You got yours, I got mine. We don't need to be crossing it, none of that stuff. That right there was the because the black woman still leads, and it's crazy, but the black woman still leads in people who get HIV/AIDS. The black woman lead, the Chinese woman ain't even she probably like a 0.5% of that jump. Probably not even that, like 0.1. I'm gonna look it up. Let me look these on. I just want to see if I could pull this up. HIV/AIDS stats for women. Let me see if it come up. Let me see. All right, we got something. What's this? Okay, yeah, let me pull this up. Gotta move this, then bring it back. All right, so I'm gonna make this bigger. Is it up? Oh, hold on. No, I just want to see this picture. All right, I got the picture. Let me do this. Stop screen. Oops. Present. Screen. Boom. Right there. All right. Let's looking at this. So new HIV diagnosis among women in U.S. female population by race and ethnicity. U.S. female population, 59% white, 13% black African American, 19% Hispanic Latino, 6% Asian, other multiracial, right? Now look at the diagnosis. We don't even make up, our women don't even make up 50% of the women in the U.S., but we make up 50% of the diagnosis when it comes to HIV/AIDS. Then look at the Hispanics. Then look at the Asian. I said it was less than, I said 0.5. So 1%. 1%. Because one thing that they do is stay with their people for the most part. They don't believe, they don't do all of that, you know? But look at that. If our people was to follow God's commandments, this will not happen to us. It will not happen to us. It will be a 0%. It will be zero. This right here, 0%. Because this is just not on the. This is not on the all on the women. Yes, yes it is when it comes down to a woman out here fornicating and jumping from man to man to man. Yeah, but sometimes this happened to married women. This happened to married women because her husband is stepping out being a homosexual and then bringing that back to the household. This would change a lot in our communities if we would just do what? Keep the commandments of God. Right? The effective righteousness, that 50% for us will be 0 today. And I don't understand why the music is still going out the way it's going out. Aren't like sexual music is still one of the main things we listen to in our communities. And they just really don't care about those chances. I did. I will be completely honest. I did. Got married young. Ain't been back since. The BET commercials used to scare me, you know. I mean, we was watching the BET. You wrap it up. Remember that? Yep. I remember that. So we have to be mindful of our actions because for every action, there's a reaction. So there's an outcome to everything. Even if you sit still all day, something's going to happen. That's crazy. Even if you do nothing, something still is going to happen. You're going to start getting sick. You'll start cramping up. You can't just lay down. You're going to start getting uncomfortable. You'll start getting bed sores and all kind of stuff. Even if you just lay down and do nothing. You're going to die of starvation. Something's going to happen. Right? So let's be mindful of what we do and the importance of God's commandments, right? The importance of it. Because the world doesn't care about what God said and how to live and walk this earth. But the Israelites should, because he gave his word unto us, right? He gave his word unto us. And this is another question I can pose to people in Christianity. Let me just go ahead and 1 second. If if God is still dealing with everybody, or still never was, but if God is now dealing with everybody, you have to show me where this verse is abolished in the New Testament. Right? Let me get to it. The book of Psalms 147 and verse 19. So keep it simple. This thing acting crazy. Okay, you don't want to. Come on, acting crazy. It says, "He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord." He's not talking unto Esau, Moab, no Hamites, no Japhites, only unto the seed of Jacob, directly from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob's seed only. So why hasn't he showed his word unto any other nation? That's the question. Why hasn't God showed his word unto any other people but the Israelites? That's the question, you know. But that's all I have for today. Gotta get my close out scripture. Colossians chapter 1 and verse 28. 28. It reads, "Whom we preach, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom, that we may present every man perfect in Christ Jesus." That is the mission, that is the goal, and that is the objective. We must present ourselves blameless before the Lord in that day, so that you may have right to the tree of life. And we do this by what? Keeping the commandments of God. Honor thy mother, honor thy father, keep the Sabbath day, wear your fringes, don't eat swine, don't eat abominations, don't deal abominable with your people. That's a whole plethora of things. But, you know, that's all I have for today. For those who tuning in, hope you got something from the class. And I'm going to say shalom.